Hey everyone, Reid Henrichs with Valor. Today we're going to talk about the President's State of the Union address. Let's go ahead and get started. Last night, President Trump gave his State of the Union, and I thought it was a very good speech. I thought there were a lot of good points in this. One big takeaway that I can get from the speech is that the economy is doing well. We're number one producer of oil and gas in the world. Slashing regulations has helped improve the economy immensely. New trade deals with other countries is also going to help America get a much better deal when it comes to interacting with other nations. There's no doubt about that. This stuff should be front page news, and instead it's not. It's wholly disregarded by the media. The other big takeaway that I can have from this speech is that President Trump denounces socialism at least twice. One quote that I really liked him when he said was that socialism destroys nations and freedom unites the soul. And as he said that, right around that time, the president-elect of Venezuela, President Guaido, was in attendance. And this was a big moment. This was a president of the United States standing up for freedom, denouncing socialism. This hasn't happened since Ronald Reagan. But I think a main point that really needs to be discussed here is that while he did that, and while he mentioned this, the Democrats sat in silence. They sat down and did not applaud. They did not cheer. They sat there. And that's a very telling point. And I would love for Democrats out there to defend their party's actions when it comes to that. Another time, President Trump denounced socialism and he said, "We will never let socialism destroy American health care." This was a big, bold statement. And once again, the Democrats sat silent. Afterwards, the Democrat response to the State of the Union was, "Oh, the health care should be the biggest focus. I thought Obamacare was supposed to fix all that. I thought Obamacare was going to fix the healthcare system." And no, it wrecked it. Another big highlight was President Trump mentioning prayers in school. Now, I don't know what your religious beliefs are. It really doesn't matter to me. But what I can tell you is that this was a very normal part of American culture up until the second part of the 20th century. Now, when President Trump mentions that, he invoked the First Amendment. And I really thought that that was an incredible part of his speech. Guys, is that we have freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. You don't have to believe in a creator at all, but those that do should have the freedom to pray in schools. That is a very important component of our government. George Washington's first act as President of the United States when he was inaugurated was to march the entire federal government to the St. Patrick's Chapel in New York City for prayer, including the Supreme Court, by the way. But there's no doubt about it, even though it was one of the most brief mentioned parts of the speech, the Second Amendment that President Trump said, he said it's under attack and that as long as he was president would never be under attack, that got the biggest pop of the night from the audience. Even though it was such a brief statement, I would say the energy that went along with that statement is what galvanized that. That set things into a different level. And yes, we can criticize President Trump for the bump stock. We can criticize him for saying things that he should have probably not said. But he needs to understand, given the pop from that audience, given the reaction to that, he needs to understand that a significant part of his base, this is an important part of his electorate, and he needs to replace words with action. He needs to start putting action into place like he has in so many other areas. President Trump also honored people. One of the people that he honored was a Tuskegee Airman. This guy was 100 years old, fighter pilot in World War II, gets a standing ovation by everybody in the crowd except for, you guessed it, the Democrats. They sat down in silence. There were many of them that sat down, did not give the man the applause that he deserved and should be recognized for. They sat there. Why you wouldn't cheer for a World War II veteran who flew escort missions for our bomber pilots over France and Germany in World War II is beyond my wildest imaginations. There's a special kind of hatred for America that the Democrats have. On the other hand, there were chants of USA, USA during this speech. It was incredible. It was explosive. There was passion behind it. And of course, as this has happened, the Democrats sit there in their little white shirts. Of course, Democrats in white shirts is not an uncommon thing, is it? President Trump called the United States at the end of his speech the most exceptional republic in history, and I'm so grateful that he used the term republic. I am so sick and tired of people talking about the United States as a democracy. No, we're not. We are a republic. Look at the Constitution. It says we are guaranteed a republican form of government. So I really appreciated the fact that President Trump mentioned that we are a republic. That's language that needs to continue, and that's language that we as citizens should be perpetuating and passing forward. And to close out his speech, he says that all this was made possible. All of our successes, all of our our prosperity, and all of this has been made possible by the hands of Almighty God. This is language of great presidents in the past. This is language that people that understood the Creator's hands in our country, this is what they've used, and this is a great way to close out the speech. Of course, at the end of the speech, Nancy Pelosi ripped up the speech right there on national television. So let's see what she ripped up. She ripped up honoring a Tuskegee Airman. She ripped up a guy coming home from a deployment. She ripped up lowest unemployment rate for minorities in recorded history, the lowest unemployment rate for women in the last 70 years, people coming back and getting jobs, not killing children in late-term abortions. That's what she ripped up. We got a president that's actually doing things, and then you have an opposition party, the Democrats, who don't cheer for our veterans, who don't want people going back to work, who don't want people to have free choice in schools, who want to murder children, who want people disarmed so that they can subjugate them. I don't see how the Democrats have any platform to run on in 2020. I don't see what they have to run on other than vitriol and hatred towards at least half the country. And I don't understand how anybody that can sit there with a straight face and defend their actions. Folks, just my thoughts on the State of the Union. I thought it was a good address. We still have a long way to go. We still have a lot to do. I would encourage President Trump to take a much more bold, firm stance on the Second Amendment. But other than that, I would say it was one of the more memorable speeches in the State of the Union in recent history. If you found the information in the video helpful, subscribe to the channel. If you want to learn how to get some training with your firearms, come on out to Valor Ridge and we can help you with that. This is Reid Henrichs reminding you, the lessons that we learn are written on the tombstones of others. We'll see you on the ridge.